What is that? We live on YouTube.
I'm telling YouTube, you guys are the greatest. You guys are so much better than Facebook. Please don't tell Facebook I said this. He's like, we're also live on Facebook. Hey, Facebook, you guys are the greatest, man. Keep on commenting.
This looks weird to me. Okay. Let's go. Viral question.
Okay, so viral question, right? So later on in your story, we're going to talk about, when you had to do the balance of power, when you had lost the election, and then the next person had to come in there. How do you feel about when Trump did not relinquish his what was it called, like his balance of power when he left the office? He did this whole board of election scam thing. What is your take on that?
Well, it shows that to serve is a privilege that is given by the people.
Yes.
And that whenever you run for office, it's a game. I mean, it's like a baseball game. You're either going to win or you're going to lose.
Right.
There's no in between. So therefore, you go into it, you give it your best. And if it's not meant to be, I just believe that God has something else for you to do. And so therefore, you accept it and go on. They just didn't renew your lease.
That's a great answer.
You're supposed to tell me that.
What?
I was trying to share.
Take a point from Beanut already. Miss
Mayor,
Mayor, can take a point from him because he made a mistake already.
What was his mistake?
Well, some mistakes are a little better unsaid. But he's supposed to be watching the monitor. He's watching something. Right.
Letting him slip. Right?
All right, but so with this Donald Trump situation, Donald Trump not getting out of the White House, and continuing to say things was voter fraud going on?
Yeah, voter fraud, which is kind of down Mr. Alley, which with the word direction. But so he was saying that, this and the third happened. There's no way it happened. No way I lost. And refusing to do the balance of power, which that we turned into the insurrection. What they call? I like to say they rioted.
Yeah, the riot.
I don't know why I like using cute names.
Well, you got to remember, we riot, they have insurrection. Okay. So, but let's cut through it. Let's cut through the chase on the whole Trump thing. We're looking at last white man standing. They've been looking for what they would call the
great white hope.
The great white hope. You got it. Okay. They tried with George Wallace. They tried with Barry Goldwater. The timing just wasn't right.
Yes.
So here it comes. Just hold it. Here it comes. They've been working for this moment for a long time.
Yes.
And so this man didn't have a clue. He didn't care. He's an epitome of narcissism.
Yes.
And if you look in the dictionary, you look up narcissism, you're going to probably see Donald Trump's name next to it. Just kidding. But the fact is, there are the same people out there who have this mentality. Because when you're looking at the statistics, white folks are going, or if not, soon will be, in the minority.
Yes.
Many of them are very fearful of the fact that we might treat them like they treated us.
Yeah.
So in that case, that is why they are doing everything they can to secure their position. Because if you remember, in slavery, there was just a few of them. It was more of us.
Yes.
But they were able to maintain the power through the letter of the Willie Lynch. Now, Willie Lynch's letter has never been edited and is still functioning today.
Absolutely.
So you pick and choose. There's coloreds, there's Negroes, there's Afro-Americans, and there's African-Americans, and then there's others. We are the only race that if you look at the census, that you get to opt out. You can say, I'm biracial.
Right.
You can say, I'm mixed race. You can, you don't have to say, I'm an African-American.
Right.
Now, think about this. Back in the 60s, when I was studying sociology and race relations, there was only 3 races.
Right.
It was Negroid,
Right.
Caucasoid,
And
Mongoloid, which was the yellow people. So no matter who or what you were, you had to fit in, no matter how it was, you had to fit into one of those 3 categories. Now they have Amerasians. I mean, you got every kind of classification, so you don't have to say I'm black.
Other.
What is race?
Race, you
Social
know,
construct.
let me talk about race is a made-up term
Right.
that was done to develop racism.
Right.
Don't think at any one time there was black people in China. There's black people in the Moors.
In Spain.
When you talk about the Irish, I mean, there's blacks everywhere.
Every corner of the map.
And when you even read in the Bible and they give a description of somebody's hair, we have bought into a lie.
Yes.
And we've sold it, and we're selling it, unfortunately, because we choose not to know our history. Because as black people, we have so much to be proud of. And we come from a long line of queens, kings, who did, if they took away most of the patents and things that black people did, this country would be back starting over again.
Right.
Yeah.
But we don't recognize, we don't embrace our history. Now, where is that? Who should be teaching us our history?
Us.
Where should we be getting it from?
Us.
See, the difference is, when I was growing up, because we were segregated, once upon a time when we were segregated, we were community. So, the teacher, the doctor, the lawyer may live in your old block. You had to have businesses because we were segregated.
Couldn't go to no other business.
So I like living on my reservation. I had everything we needed. We had movie theaters, we had the skating rings, we had bowling alleys, we had grocery stores, we had everything that we needed.
All black owned and operated.
All black owned and operated. Every week you had a Jet magazine coming in your house. So when you looked at the Jet, you saw on the front cover somebody black.
Yes.
That was important.
Representation is very important.
You had the Ebony coming in your house. And black important.
Page 43, my favorite part.
Then you also had black newspapers.
Yes.
And then you also had like the Pride magazine. So there was always something in our community that we were able to see ourselves. Might not be able to see yourself on TV unless you're looking at Amos and Andy. But other than that, but even that, that's okay. You know, one of the most integrated shows on TV that doesn't get the credit that it deserves, and that's the Little Rascals.
Yes.
And the Little Rascals, remember, whether they were black, they all went in the front door or they all went in the back door, and they were always included.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they financially treated them all the same too. So
man, we are the Legendary Podcast. We do legendary stories, and you want to find out where this legendary perspective comes from. We about to get to that first. But before we get there, my man, I gotta pay some bills first, too, bro.
What's up, everybody? Man, what a great intro to what's going to turn out to be a great show. This is the Legendary People Podcast. Man, what's up, everybody watching us on Facebook or on YouTube? If you are on Facebook, make sure you go over and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is the Legendary People Podcast. It's spelled exactly how it's spelled underneath me. Go like, subscribe, ring the bell notification so you can get alerted every time we drop hot content like we are doing today. We want to say what's up to our sponsors, Sheiks. They got the best breakfast in the city. You want to go to Agnes All Natural Grill for lunch. They got the best lunch in the city. If you're ever injured, call attorney Michael Wright. If you want to get lit a little bit, get you some good old Kiara wine. You can contact Antoine Cunningham on Facebook. Or he also has it at More for Less. So that's Kiara Wine. And the shoparea.com is like the baby Amazon. Delivery is always free from the store to your door in 4 business days. That's the shoparea.com. Today we are broadcasting live from T-Shirt Kings, t-shirtkings247.com, and T-Shirt Kings in the metaverse. Gold for your mouth and Camera Kings. Come through and check us out. We got all kind of deals going right now on T-shirts. So for this spring, you should be able to come through, and if you got a business or you need personal shirts for whatever reason, man, we going crazy. We got 50 shirts for $250. That's $5 a shirt. You can get yourself some shirts and then flip it. And, you know, buy them for 5, sell them for 10, sell them for 20, and make a quadruple up. But we got that opportunity available for you. Every Sunday, sell stocks not dope. My brother Peanut Johnson teaches you how to get a big old bag from investing your money the right way in stocks. And that's every Sunday on the Dash Resource channel on YouTube. Sell stocks not dope every Sunday at 8 p.m. So make sure you check us out. All right, so without further ado, my brother Peanut Johnson, back over to you.
Bro, I don't know how you got through that without messing up not once, so I'm going to give you a point to start this.
Thanks.
You know
I never mess up.
I'm a little
I must have a collect. I must have. Man, are you kidding me? I'm body area. I will take clips and clips and clips of me body in the intro. Yeah, I got it.
So here on the Liberty Podcast, I like to celebrate our legends by finding out where they grew up. So without further ado, Ms. Brian McClin'S, where did you grow up?
Dayton, Ohio.
Okay.
Germantown and Crib, to be exact.
Okay.
Living in a funeral home.
Living in a funeral home.
And then went to live with my grandparents on MacArthur. Then I spent a year in New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey. And then I
Let's go back. Hold on. That's interesting. You lived in a funeral home.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so how old was you at this time?
Baby.
Baby. do you remember do you remember living there or no? Or was you too-
I just lived there until my house fell down, and when the funeral home fell down, I had to move. But no, I lived in there. I mean, it was my home. I lived with my daddy there, even as a grown-up, when I came home from college.
Okay, all right, right.
My sister lived there for a while. I mean, you know, my parents lived there. That's okay. So let me give you all just a quick lesson between a funeral home, technically between a funeral home and a mortuary.
Okay.
A funeral home has living quarters. A mortuary doesn't. And in those days, you had to have a funeral home. You had to live there. I mean, you didn't have no cell phones. You didn't have no beepers. If people wanted you, they walked there, whatever the time was, and knocked on the door and said, my loved one had passed.
Yeah.
So you had to have somebody living there. So when we lived on Germantown, I mean, there was 2 apartments upstairs. So you had my family lived in one, and the caretaker lived in another section.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, babysitting was my grandfather embalming, and I'm sitting on the steps watching.
So at what age do you remember seeing a dead body, and how was it explained to you?
It was explained to me that a body, my first awareness of a body was like 5 years old. And how it was explained to me, that the body is not the person.
Man, don't do it.
Take a point.
The body is not the person.
Hold on.
And that-
Miss Mary,
What we are doing-
please take a point
You
from
know
Peanut. Please just take a point from him. That's all. And then we can go on with it. Yes! Yes! This is the best clip of all time!
Man, you know what that alarm's for, man.
I don't care. We got the mayor in the building. You cut every device.
So
You have really.
So anyway,
You should be glad I can remember.
There we go. Okay, all right. Here we go.
No,
Yeah.
but you know, the fact is, we just grew up in the funeral home. My grandfather came here in 1932, and he came from Detroit. He had done his apprenticeship with Diggs Funeral Home, and Diggs was a congressman. And so when they came here in 32, and then my father was, he's a graduate of Dunbar High School, just like I am. And he went to the service. And when he got married, he came back, and you know, we all live. You live in the funeral home. That's where you're supposed to live.
Yeah.
And that's all I ever knew.
So,
I mean, and you know what? When I was a kid, I used to go down in the chapel. We lived upstairs. It was the chapel, and I would talk to the dead. You know, like like my mom or somebody had made me upset. I was like, I'm telling on them. I talked to them, and you know, the one thing that I learned, which was so awesome,
Yeah.
they didn't tell him.
Yeah.
I mean, they knew
Nice.
how to keep a secret.
yeah.
And so, you know, it became more and more comfortable to talk to him.
You know what? Well, one thing that I wanted to, the question was, how was it explained to you?
Oh, they explained to me that the body is not the body. This is just a shell
Yeah.
that the person's soul has gone on. So what our job is to make the family as comfortable that it is on the loss of their loved one as they celebrate.
Mhm.
As they celebrate the physical body. You got to think about this. We don't know about death. We don't know. None of us have died, come back, and say,
Right.
you know, how it's like. So you only can associate death to living. So that is why, you know, you feel the casket to see if it has a mattress or a spring, you know, that it has a pillow. Because guess what? You sleep in a bed, you sleep on a pillow. So you're thinking for your loved one.
Yeah.
You know, they like pink, they like this, they like that. You're still thinking. So funerals are for the living. And what they are meant for is to help you have a closure, number one. Number two is to have a reflection in your life, because I firmly believe every death that occurs in the family occurs at a specific time to leave a message to the survivors
Yeah.
for the future. And some days, you know, sometimes you don't see it right away. But it will avail to you. For example, when my grandfather died, oh my God, I loved him. He loved me. I mean, that was my God. I said, well, how could he? He was the nice one in the family. Why him? But the fact is, none of us would have grown up if he hadn't passed when he did, because everybody now had to step up to another role.
Yeah.
Because he was the one that was carrying the load.
Yeah. Man.
So just like, I mean, let's make it real about the legacy of your grandmother, Annie Bonaparte. There's a message there that when you hear a legacy, and I want to talk about legacy real quick. A legacy, most people think is buildings, streets, bridges. All those things can be torn down. All those things can disappear. There could be an earthquake. There could be a fire. There could be anything. Those are gone. But the legacy of what a person does for other people lasts forever because they pass it on. So when you have a legend like your grandmother, Annie Bonaparte, those of us who are left, when you speak of Annie Bonaparte, you speak with reverence and respect. And that she was a no-nonsense player, all right? No, but the fact is, she left a legacy. You don't see that. You don't see people fighting for other people's rights now like they should, or fighting for their community the way that she did. So my question is, what are you going to do about it?
Ooh.
What? No, right, no.
That's
Right,
a question.
wrong answer. What are you going to do about it?
That's a question.
What are you going to do about it? You want to carry her legacy to another level. That's what you're supposed to tell me. You're not supposed to say yes. I mean, 'cause I don't sound nothing. What in your head? Express it. Express yourself.
So I intend to continue to honor my grandma's legacy with what she showed me and what I continue to teach with my children. So, it's one thing I want to talk about later on. This is an organization called Grams Kids. My mother will take kids that are empowered to go and do outings. My brother's last dying wish was to have a lower ring on the west side. Now, I intend for that to actually happen. I don't want to put the back, but yeah, that's exactly what.
Well, you know why? You know, there was the Mayo skating ring, and you grew up rolling. There was a skating ring on Gilsey, and even in the Highview Hills area a long time ago, there was an outdoor skating ring.
Outdoors.
Here's your mic, Peanut.
So the thing is, now we don't have a skating ring in our area. I mean, last year for my birthday, I bought me some Prince roller skates. And, no. And they got purple wheels. And they have reflection. Now, let me tell you, I have enough sense to know. And there's still Hoover skating ring that goes. That's the only one that's left on the west side. Now, I have enough sense to know that I can't go to no skating ring because these folks gonna run over you, and I don't want to be Humpty Dumpty and fall off the wall. So I roller skate on the bikeway.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
Because they keep it paved. There's no safe. Only biggest problem you have there is dodging goose dome. But other than that,
Geeks are crazy for something. But let's listen to some of your early beginnings, right? So who were some of your early childhood friends?
Oh, I still got them that are still alive. My best friend is Cynthia, and we grew up together. After my parents divorced, I kind of like hung out at her house on Germantown Street. But I have friends like Sandra Kendricks. They get married. I don't change their names.
Right.
I have like a Carol Mason, and Joanne's, and there's a whole bunch of us. Skippy Ross, Roy McCollum, Stephen Smith. I mean, Valerie Caesar. I mean, we all still hang out. I mean,
cool.
We all still have a relationship.
Yeah.
Flora Elders.
Yeah.
That's Chris
really cool.
Kortner, Buzzy. I mean, that's what we call him, Buzzy. So I can just go ahead and name a whole bunch of them. We're all getting excited now because Dunbar's getting ready to have this all-class reunion from 1936 up.
Well, before we get to Dunbar, what elementary school did you go to?
I started off at Willard, which is no longer there. Willard is where the street name is still there, but Willard is not there. Willard is where Daymont West was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where I went there. I went to Whittier.
Yeah.
And I went a year in New Jersey, and then the elementary school that I finished from was Highview. And then I went through Dunbar. I was in the first class to go through the whole 4 years of the new Dunbar.
So, what kind of student were you?
I thought I was okay. I was a cheerleader.
Okay.
I was a cheerleader in elementary school.
Okay.
I was a cheerleader in high school, and I was a cheerleader in college.
There we go.
So I played a little bit of the violin in elementary school. I helped out with the family business. And
what kind of ways did you help out? Because that is always going to attract me to your story. Is that part? So, what kind of ways did you help out in that young of an age? What kind of things did you have to do?
Well, when I was young, when I wasn't starting school or stuff, and there was a funeral, I would help with the flowers.
Okay. Well, that's cute.
You give it a little job, and then they would have little tasks for you to do, and I would do it. Like if it's taking the card off of the flowers and making sure, transferring where the floors to the front so the people could see who sent the flowers.
Right.
Little task, cleaning up the room. Cleaning up was more of a job they gave me. I was really a maid early on. and clean the bathrooms, that keeps you humble.
Right. So,
well, it does.
It does.
So, siblings, you have brothers and sisters?
I I had one brother and one sister. My sister passed a few years ago. She was the youngest because I was like 11 years older than she.
Okay.
And then I have a brother that I'm like 6 or 7 years older than he is. So technically, I grew up because my father was the only child. Because his parents reared me, I grew up more like his sister.
Wow.
You know, so he and I were more like a brother and sister, and then the other two were the children.
So like that was an interesting dynamic. So like being like 11 years older, you know what I mean? Like you kind of had like, were you kind of like big sister, or were you more or less like?
Well, you got to think about it. I was 21 when the one was 11 years old. I was off in college.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then my brother grew up with our mother, and so he lived in New Jersey.
Okay.
And
So one of the interesting dynamic of living in New Jersey, what was one of the glaring differences when you moved to New Jersey in contrast to living in Ohio?
okay, because we lived in community. You would say at that time you might have been sheltered, living in Dayton. You know, I could have my little Mary Jane shoes on and socks and skip and be happy. You know, ain't nobody really bullying you too hard or anything like that. You go to Trenton, New Jersey, it's rough. It's, you know, the Italians and the Puerto Ricans. So that's where I learned how to fight and be able and learn how to.
Wait. You about to fast forward past you out there whooping ass, okay?
Well, you know, let me just say this. Either you do it or get done to it.
That's a bar, man. That's a bar.
And I remember when I first went to the school, because, you know, I still dressed like I'm from Dayton, and you know, they weren't like that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when school got out like at 3:00 and like 2:45, it'd always be like, get ready, get set, because I'm going to run. You know? Because I was always taught that a good run beats a bad stand.
She got bars all night.
That's a bar. She dropped.
So my mother and father both were in the military. And my mother was no nonsense.
Right.
So she saw me running on up the hill, and she would open the door. And I was like, please open the door. She said, no, this is enough. You gotta defend yourself. I turned around, I beat that girl so bad, they had to pull me off of it. Because it was like, I don't want to do this, you done made me do this.
Look what you made me do to you.
What?
And you know, with that comes street cred.
There you go.
Yeah, you gotta have that street cred. So,
Before you super delegate up there, you was super delegate in the streets first. You know what I mean?
you gotta have it. You know, like I tell Jasmine all the time. I said, Jasmine, you gotta own the streets when we're walking down here, because you know, you can't be weak.
All this time I thought Jasmine Brown was being your protector, but now you know you protecting Jasmine Brown in the streets.
Jasmine always is so kind to me, but I tell Jasmine, hey Jasmine, I got this.
Right.
Gang.
Okay, so tell us a good mom story.
About my mother?
Yes.
Well, my mother worked really hard. She taught severely retarded children, and living with her, and she kept outpatients from the state hospital. I mean, I grew up being in a very humble environment.
Right.
So,
I mean, dead bodies in one room.
you know, when you're home with your dad, and grandparents, you're with the dad, and then you're up here with.
Brown ain't gonna get us there.
Yeah. Take a point.
So you gotta learn some humility, but the fact is, that's a good mom story, because you know, you're looking at, she would bring people home, you know, and well, of course I'm from Dayton where I haven't seen this, and and she would tell me, Timmy today learned how to tie his shoe. And
Timmy like 40. Timmy like 45.
so this is a real celebration that we're
Right.
bringing.
Yes.
Timmy gets to come home
Right.
and have a home cooked dinner with us at the table. But the lesson from it is, and that's why she was such a good mom, because she taught us, you better not laugh because you're going to get your butt whipped.
Yeah.
And number two, but for the grace of God, it could be you.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, to me, that's a good mom story, because that was one of the turning points in your life of being able to appreciate others.
Wow.
Nice.
So I mean, since we don't know mom, let's tell us a good old dad story.
Now, my dad.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you about my dad. My daddy, when we were kids, Martha Tuck, her dad was George Tuck, who had the Lakeview Palladium, he had the Lavender Lounge, and he had the Tuck Supper Club. So we're at this dance in Arlington Courts, and
AC.
yeah, and we just had a ball dancing. So it was my dad's turn to pick us up. So Marta was always such a good friend. She would say,
Marta Jean?
Marta Jean Tuck.
That's my cousin. On my mom's side.
Okay, it's okay.
I'm like, wait a minute.
So Marta was one of my best friends in high school. So Marta is saying, look, your daddy's gonna come. Your daddy's gonna come. I said, your daddy's not coming. My daddy's not coming. She said, yeah, he is. He said he's got. I said, my daddy's not coming. So let's start walking. So we start walking down McCall Street. I said, my daddy's not coming. And Martin said, he's coming, Ryan. I said, no, he ain't coming. So finally the police, this is like 11-some o'clock at night. So police pull up. And they said, where you ladies think you going? We said, we going home, which I live in that funeral home, right? So I said, take us to the funeral home. And they said, well, who's supposed to pick you up? I said, my daddy was supposed to pick us up. So your daddy's busy. That's a daddy story. I mean, that's how, that's just how, but Marta, she had more faith in my daddy than I did on my picture.
She didn't know your daddy, yeah.
Optimistic in my family. Smell.
She did. But it was so funny. So when we got down there, of course, he had forgot. So my grandfather was waiting, and my grandfather took Marta home and everything. But I kept saying he's not coming. Because one of the things in my life we always had a nightclub. Mm-hmm. And my dad had the Farmdale. My grandfather and my father had the Farmdale. That was down in Hog Bottom. You all may not remember. Madden Hills is where Hog Bottom was. Okay. I mean, it was literally Hog Bottom. Okay? Hog, H-O-G, bottom. There were hogs down there.
Yeah.
No running water.
Wow.
Outhouses stuff. Yeah. Hog Bottom. But anyway, we had a club down there called the Farmdale. And so all these entertainers would come through. I mean, I met like Ruth Brown, and you all don't know names, Roland Kirk, and Bill Doggett. All these folks came. Little Richard.
And there we go.
Okay, Little Richard. He was interesting. I mean, I was a kid. I didn't know what was happening with Little Richard. I mean, I as you get older, you can reflect back and say, "Oh, that's what was going on." Okay.
Right.
At the time, it's just like, "Whoa, this is interesting."
Yeah. Like he's a little flamboyant.
Yeah. Something had happened. And one night, he was supposed to go on the show, and Ray Charles. I got to tell you a story about Ray Charles. So. One night he was supposed to go on the show. This time we had moved up on MacArthur, so we had all these rooms in the house. So a lot of people, because we didn't have a lot of hotels. So like if the models came, what was it? When the National Council of Negro Women had the Ebony Fashion Show, yes. Some of the models would stay with us. But anyway, some of the folks that came to entertain at the Farmdale stayed with us. So Little Richard something had happened. I don't know what had happened, but he was not going to go on. He was not going to go on, and he was just having what I consider a hissy fit. And so I'm looking at my father and my grandfather rubbing him, rubbing his shoulders, massaging his back, calming him down. I'm like, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I had not seen them do that to anyone else.
Yeah.
But the story about Ray Charles and my dad, they were been drinking after a show. And Ray Charles told my dad, he says, I want to drive. And so
He let him.
they down in Hog Bottom, and my dad gives, they had been
Ray.
drinking, and Ray Charles is driving around in Hog Bottom. So
What?
later on, fast forward, right before my father got ready he got sick, Ray Charles was performing at Ohio State Fair. So my dad wanted to go see Ray Charles one more time. So he went there, and they asked him, he said, who are you? He said, tell him I'm the man who taught him how to drive. And he said, C.J. McClin.
Wow.
Yeah. That is the coolest thing I ever heard, bro. Yeah, that's tough, man.
That should have been in the movie.
So so you brought us a book, and can you give us a little bit of the intro of the book?
The book is called Dad I Served, and it started off to be his autobiography, but he died before the book was completed. So then other people added their story for us to complete the book. It talks about his grit to survive, to do the things about people. He really cared about people. See, my grandfather ran for city commission, and when he ran for city commission, they tried to paint him as a communist. They had a newspaper that came out with a black hand coming over it, and then they had poured acid on the sidewalks at the funeral home. And so my grandfather never got elected, but he paved the way for my dad. And so when my grandfather lived to see me go to college, he lived to see my dad get elected, and he died that same year.
Wow.
But that's why he dedicated the book to his father, and that he never stopped serving the people, because whatever he did, he felt that he was there for the people, and that black people always need an advocate for them.
Yes.
And that even though you gotta love black people down to the bowels of your soul, you gotta help them even when they don't want to be helped. You gotta move them forward. I believe we are the problems people, but anyway. But the fact is, he never stopped serving. Nobody. When you talk about my dad, when you talk about C.J. McClin Jr., you don't hear anybody talk about what did he wear, what kind of car he drove, where he lived. They always talked about what he did to help them. That's legacy. Now, there may be the C.J. McClin Jr. Parkway out there. There may be the C.J. McClin Jr. Water Resource Center at Central State. And there's the McClin Gym on the back of the Nutter Center.
Yeah.
That don't matter.
Right.
It's how he helped people.
Wow.
And what the book tells you about is his struggle in life and why he served.
Were there any similarities in his reason that coincide with your reason for why you served as well?
That's what I was taught.
You know what's interesting about this book? When you gave it to me when you came in, I had thought that this was you speaking to your dad about you serving.
Yes.
And his picture is on here, but really this is like a generational thing that works and interchangeable between the generations, from your dad to your grandfather and from you to your dad. Yeah,
that's a unique perspective. I've never written a book on me. I don't really talk about me because I realized I was taught that humility before honor.
Yeah.
And that my dad used to say, he who toots his own horn is seldom asked for an encore.
Another bar.
In most instances, if you don't know who I am, I don't tell you. You know, I mean, I'm just Rhine McClin because I've always been a Rhine McClin. I'm named after the river in Germany.
I was about to ask that.
Yeah. And my dad was in Germany doing the service, and he saw the Rhine River, and he thought it was so great.
It's so funny.
So, you know, like I tell my brother, he should be paying me because if he'd been the first child, he'd probably been named Rhine. But no, you know, the fact is, I'm glad it was the Rhine. I could have been Mississippi. I could have been the Euphrates. I could have, you know, I could have been a whole lot of things. There's a whole lot of river names out there. And so I take Rhine with grace.
Yeah. It's a nice name.
Yeah. It's in fact, I Googled my name, and there is no other Rhine McClin in the world.
Everything I move.
That is.
Everyone I move.
So I found that
Wow.
really interesting. So.
That is interesting, and it shouldn't be.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
Just like what you want me to do?
You. Well, you are enough.
touche. I mean, I'm thinking like, woo, I'm not Sarah in the Bible.
I'm not Sarah in the Bible.
You just took me to, oh my goodness.
All right.
So, besides your father laying down a legacy that, you know what I'm saying, that your grandfather had put forward, are there any other small breadcrumbs of success that you later got, like from your past? Like anything that played out that when you were younger that eventually became to why you became the great Rhine man?
Well, my mother taught me work ethic. She taught me how to work out too. you know, you gotta stay fit. My grandmother taught me how that clothes can, you know, develop your style. May not be what everybody else agrees with, but let it be your style and help you to do you. So I'm very comfortable with being who I am. And if you ask any of my friends from high school and stuff, they'll tell you I was always different, you know. But as I got older, I embraced it more. Because I tried at times to try to fit in with the game. I was like, this doesn't work for me.
Right.
You know, I have to do me. And I give anybody advice to say, you know, do you. You know, if I wear circle square glasses, I think today I have on square glasses with a circle and a circle with a square. Yes. And so.
So fly. Like, you always the fly, like, always the fly dress.
So, but the point is that it's me.
Mm-hmm.
And today, what's really interesting today, I'm at the Board of Elections, and on the Board of Elections, there are 2 Democrats and there's 2 Republicans. And so the one Democrat on there, he has really developed a friendship with me. And he said he had a surprise for me today. And he comes in and he has on circle, square, glasses.
Now, you might have your own style. Did you feel flattered by the gesture? Or did you feel like, wait a minute?
He swagger jacket.
Yeah,
No,
right.
it was flattering.
Okay.
It was truly flattering because
Right.
for somebody to feel that they felt that they could step out, that I had inspired them enough to be an individual.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was cool.
I think it is too.
Yeah, it's
What's
Definitely.
happening in the world?
I will tomorrow.
So I mean, you know, you gotta do you. And what we've seen so much with our young people nowadays, they think they're being individuals, but they're only copying each other.
Right.
You know, it's like, what is different here?
Yeah.
Somebody help me. I haven't seen anything different here.
Right.
So you have to develop a personality. The one thing that my dad, and this is a real serious story about my dad. When I was younger, somebody said to me, they thought I was pretty. And I go home, of course, you know, when you're around 12, 13 years old, you need validation from family. And that's why it's important for girls to have fathers in their homes. Because how your father is and having a mother helps develop you as a whole person. So he said, well, who told you that? so I said, well, this person over here told me. He said, let me tell you about beauty. He says, you can get sick and you can lose your beauty. You can be in an accident and you can lose your beauty. And if you just keep living and getting old, you can lose your beauty. He said, but if you develop your beauty from the inside out,
Right.
it will never go away.
Bars.
That is powerful.
And that's how I feel. So if somebody ever says to me, you like, I'm like, no. I want you to see me. Because guys, I'm going to tell you something. Do you know where the most romantic place a man can kiss a woman?
In the bank. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
You gave him a point or took one from him?
I took one.
Yes.
I'm trying to teach you guys.
All right, come on, I'm ready.
If a man kisses a woman on her forehead, it is the most romantic spot a man can kiss a woman, because he's saying to her, not only do I love your whole body, I'm basically in love with your brains.
Yeah.
And if you notice, when KBJ's husband came to her after she had gone through another terrible confirmation, where did he kiss her? On her forehead.
An actual term for that is called sapiosexual, is where you are attracted to someone's intelligence.
Good.
Take a point. Take a point.
I don't know where that came from. I don't know where
We
that
all are offended. We're offended. We getting canceled. I don't know.
This is why education is important. So we're going to move forward in your education.
Okay.
So Dunbar. So like going to school here, then moving to Trenton, coming back. What was that transition like to finally be at a historic place like Dunbar?
No, Dunbar. Well, it was very historic to me because my father went there. And so therefore that meant something.
Legacy.
Yeah.
And just like Clay Dixon, who's the mayor of Dayton, had went to at the time Dunbar. He has come, he had Joey Williams come from Dunbar, but you even had Dave Albritton. Dave Albritton ran with Jesse Owens. He was at Dunbar High School.
Yeah.
And he was a state representative as well as a track coach. So you got all of that there in Dunbar High School,
Yeah.
So it was not a place, it was a place of respectability.
So just to do like a hindsight kind of thing, because like nowadays you see kids that go to a school and they don't have that sense of
Pride.
What do you think will be the difference between then and now when it comes to school pride and just taking like the whole legacy aspect into totality?
Well, you got to remember now, we came from a segregated community. We had community. You had black loyalty. You had
The village.
You had the village. If you did something bad, by the time you got home, your mom or somebody, 4 or 5 folks done called, and they might have whipped your butt before you got home. So you knew who Paul Lawrence Dunbar was.
Yes.
I can recall, because I sub sometimes, and I can recall asking a kid at Thurgood Marshall. I said, well, who's it? I said, oh, you go to Thurgood Marshall. You know who Thurgood Marshall? No. I said, how can you be here and not know who he is?
Right.
Where is our curiosity to want to know?
Right.
And you go on James McGee. I said, I've taken people walking in the urban gym, and we go to James McGee. I said, you know who he was? No. Okay. He was the first black mayor of Dayton. James McGee. You talk about E.T. Banks, Edward Terrell Banks. Nobody knows who he is, but he was the only black to sign the charter when Dayton was organized. Not only that, he was the one that was instrumental in the Linden Center, which is closed now, but it was the first recreational center for coloreds in Dayton. Had a swimming pool and everything. E.T. Banks did that. You might have seen the Bank Street was named after E.T. Banks.
Wow.
He was also very instrumental in seeing that black people worked in the city other than in labor jobs. E.T. Banks.
Well, since we on that, let's talk about some of your firsts. Because I know you have a lot of
You know, okay, we can talk about some of my firsts. I'm going to say, I always say being first to be last. And because normally when we get to be first, somebody already has done it anyway.
Right.
So
still
it's no celebration of being first. The only thing about being first for us as an African American is that you don't make yourself last. You want to make sure that others come behind you. That's why it's so important that instead of walking around saying, I'm the first this, I'm the first that, well, what have you done with it?
Right.
Who else has come along? And that's the key. I was the first divorce counselor for Montgomery County Domestic Relations Court under Judge Fisher.
Judge Fisher.
I was the first, and it was a black guy named Ted Fields. We were the first. He was the first black. I was the first. That's a hard job, y'all.
So I worked in,
That was a hard job.
I worked in
I
a
bet.
field that was predominantly different demographic than me, right? And there were these different, like nuances that, they would have negative connotation towards our people, but then they'll try to side with us in a certain type of way. Did you see anything like that when you were going through that?
Every day. Every day. And sometimes it's just so offensive.
Yes.
They don't even know. See, because you got to remember, we know them. They don't know us.
Yes.
And, it's just like when somebody meets you and they'll say, well, hi Bob. You know somebody in Cleveland named George? I'm like, I'm in Dayton, Ohio. Because for some reason they just have this concept
That we all know each other.
we all just know each other or look like one another. That's one of the reasons that I had the crazy glasses and I wear hair hats and I wear hats and stuff, because if you remove all of that, you become invisible to them.
Dang.
Wow.
That's deep.
Yeah, because they look for that gimmick on you to have some type of identification. Look about it. Just think about it. Michelle Obama.
Yes.
Every time she changed her hair, which is what black women do.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's just what we do.
Variety.
Yeah, we love. We want to mix it up, and they would have a hissy fit. Oh, she got a bang. She got this. To the rest of us sisters, she's just doing her.
Right.
She ain't about to come out looking the same way she looked last week.
Yeah, but they had that same look all the time, and so and you see that so much in trying to work with them, and then you have those who said one of the things I never did I never played race. Never played. I don't do no race jokes. Don't play race. I don't do that.
Right.
And then in those environments where they start drinking a little bit too much, I have to exit, because they get comfortable.
Yeah.
They won't say something, and it might not be a pretty picture.
Because she a gangster.
Right.
It just might not be pretty.
Yeah.
They may take you back to some Trenton, New Jersey days.
Might have some flashbacks that that maybe I want to pimp slap you. You try to remove yourself from those forms of environments that would cause you to lose your grace.
There you go. So,
I see why you got elected.
yes.
You are the best.
The best, man.
And if anybody would get to know you or knew you, they would understand I mean, you got so much wisdom, right? But your delivery of it is perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So speaking of when you first became a representative of the people, you have 1989, the House Representative. Well, so that was after your father, and then you was.
Well, okay, my father. See, at the time, I was a happy mortician. I was running the funeral home. I ran the funeral home for like 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I found my niche. You know, I know my granddaddy was smiling on me. I enjoyed working at the funeral home. I enjoyed seeing people move on in their lives after someone had passed, and that there was life, and you know, going. When my father wanted me to replace him if he didn't live, I was shocked because first of all, I was a girl, and in those days, you know, I ain't thinking much about no girl. So I've always been my dad. I call myself my daddy's daughter, son.
Right.
And so, I mean, because if my brother had just acted halfway right for a minute, everything would have been his, you know, to have. But he chose me, and that's like, oh Lord. Oh, and you know, I have watched all these years. I've been like, you know, sitting by the door, and I mean, I've done a lot to help him in the background, but not being in the front,
Right.
and having to deal with all people.
Yeah.
You know, at least at a funeral, you know that death comes generally in a family once every 13 years or something like that. So even if a family was difficult, you're pretty sure you're gonna see them another 13 years. So you know, it was.
That's so funny to say.
So, but you know that there was a beginning and an ending.
Right.
But now, you know, you got people saying, your granddaddy helped me, your daddy helped me, now you helping me, and I'm going like, ooh, they did. You got a little bit too much help.
That is so funny. Hey, you still need some help?
You know, I mean,
3 generations of help.
I mean, because you know, you got to remember every occupation has a.
Every minute's been by their work.
Well, but you have every occupation has an occupational hazard.
Yes.
And the hazard that you have as being a mortician is you always looking at mortality. You're looking at death. And nobody wants to talk about death. You know, I'm comfortable talking about death. You know, but most folks don't want to talk about death. And so, you know, just like I don't, very rarely I go to a hospital, because when I was a mortician, I went to the hospital, people say, oh, that sick or that bad, you know.
It's like the Grim Reaper walking down the hall.
They see you and they're not seeing you.
You know, so, you know, my feelings are hurt. You know, it's like, oh, I was calling myself checking you out. You know, it's like, oh, you know, like, I'm not that sick. I'm just like, okay. So I picked up the habit where I very rarely go to a hospital to see anybody. So when you're talking about these folks, you know, all these guys, you're saying, how he pick her? You know, how's she gonna do it? Oh my God, it was just a nightmare. I'm saying, they would say, how you think you're gonna? I don't know. I was very candid. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Were you optimistic, or were you a little bit nervous?
I was scared.
Okay.
I was downright scared. Because first of all the years that my dad had been in the state rep, I probably had only been in Columbus twice to even see what he was doing. My role, as I saw it, was to run the family business so that he could be unbought and unbossed.
There we go.
And that our business was we were supported by black people.
Yes.
And my job was to take care of them so that he could do what he needed to do for us on another level.
Uncompromised.
There you go.
So your first year as a House of Representative, how did it go for you? Did you feel like there's some room for improvement, or did you just take the wheel and just glide around the block?
And you know what? I said, hey, if he thought this is how I looked at it. My daddy thought I could do it. And he's convinced some of these folks to support me to do it. Then by God, I'm going to do it. And that's why I ran. I said, I'm going to prove that my daddy wasn't wrong in choosing me.
Yeah.
And that's why I took from being a state rep, and when the time came to run for the state senate, I said, I'll just take it a little step further. You got me here. If not, I'll go back and work in my funeral.
Right.
So I became the first black woman elected to the Ohio State Senate.
That's all right.
Okay, I get there, and I get there, and I'm going like, So I become the minority whip. And then my peers decided, said, we want to make you the minority leader.
Mm-hmm.
First time, black woman got to be the minority leader.
Mm-hmm.
And then they came to me and said, you need to run for mayor. So, mayor? Woo, that's where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
Well, let me stop you for 1 second. So, I did want to go back just a little bit.
Okay.
So, when your dad was actually running for mayor, and he decided,
No, my dad never ran for mayor.
Your dad never ran for mayor. Okay.
My grandfather ran for city commission.
Okay. Okay, and then,
It's like
but
a
your,
point away from being wrong.
well, your dad was an elected official. What was your dad?
My dad was an elected official. He was state representative for 22 years, and he was the founder of the Black Elected Democrats of Ohio, which was BETO at the time. Now it's called the Ohio Legislative Black Caucus. It's the oldest black legislative caucus in the United States. It was done before they even had the black caucus in Washington.
Wow. So when he actually won, that was you guys together the night that he won and found out that he was gonna
state
serve?
rep?
Yeah, state rep.
No, I was in Fairfield, Iowa, college.
Oh, you was in college. Yeah.
That's a whole other story. But yeah, I went to college in.
Well,
No, I went to Parsons College in Fairfield, Iowa. I got my master's from Xavier.
Okay.
But
Boy, that boy about to come out.
but what was his excitement about winning? I mean, I know that you guys talked after he won.
you know what his excitement was? Is that he was able to accomplish something his father couldn't do, but his father had laid the groundwork for it to be done.
Right. Right.
And that's the same way I felt about going from the House to the Senate and to the Senate to being mayor. Being mayor was a vindication for how they had done my grandfather.
Right.
Wow.
Right. And the nights that you actually won, like on an election night when you're seeing the votes come down and you finally see that you actually won it, how did you feel?
Thank God.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can't do that by yourself. It was God who led it. Because I mean, if you think about when I ran for state senate, probably nowhere in the world I should have won that, being that black woman. And I mean, you gotta remember, the district covered Montgomery County and Riverside, Huber Heights. Then you go over into Miami County, the Tip
Right.
City,
Yeah.
Troy, Piqua.
Well, how was your campaigning in order to get the support from those places? Or Dayton just really showed up for
Dayton
you?
showed up, but I worked on areas up there too. I mean, I just went out and met people. I had people who I met from being in the legislature, and politics is really based upon relationships.
Right.
Somebody knows somebody that they like you, they will promote you, and that's how it goes.
Right.
You can't do it by yourself. You know, it's just like going to, when I first, in 1994, when I first campaigned in like Tip City, well, I couldn't ask none of y'all to go with me because that would be too intimidating. so, you know, I put my purse on my shoulder and I started going door to door, you know, myself. By the time I got to the third door, here goes the police.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember talking about what Ohio stands for.
Anna,
Ohio.
was it?
Ain't no niggas allowed.
Really?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that, but once you keep going, I think going to school in Iowa helped me do that. Because the attitude I had when them whole, you got to remember, I came from an all black environment. Now when I went to the legislature, oh my God, this is a whole different world here. The attitude that I had was, if anybody is different in this room, it has to be them, not me. And that's how I approached it.
Right. So, like, we kind of skipped one part that I always want to, like, think about, like, because I always think about things parallel, right? So I think about when you go through the part where it was segregated, and then when they finally let, what it's called, like, when they start letting people
Integrate.
When they integrate.
And then you see nowadays when people are saying, oh, I'm bullied online. They're saying things about me on this app where you can just block it, delete it, or whatever. What is the difference between back in the day having to deal with that type of racism directly in front of your school compared to online where you control what's literally your own reality?
You learned a lot of things, because you got to also remember it's during a time where women were exposed to sexual harassment as well as racism. So you develop techniques of survival. And so if you say something to me that, when Clint Eastwood said a man's got to know his limitation, what he's saying was, I don't have enough bullets for all these folks that are in this room. Okay? So then you got to say, a good run beats a bad stand. And so what happens is that some things you got. Black people every day wake up into a racist environment.
Yes.
From the time we wake up to the time we go to bed, we are being exposed to so many things. It almost becomes second nature, and we don't even act like it's happening anymore.
Right.
But it plays a part on our physical being and our mental being. But if I'm in the grocery store and somebody white walks up to me and says something disparaging to me, what do? You look around and see good run beats a bad thing. So you ignore them and go on about your business. Because every battle you don't have to fight.
Right.
One of the things I love about black women, especially when somebody comes up and tries to be a Karen, we can just give them the look. We don't have to say a word. We just give them the look.
Yeah.
Karen gonna kind of back off. Karen picks on the guys more than she picks on the sisters.
She knows she got the police behind her.
Yeah.
She can call the police on the guys.
Yeah, Karen picks on the brothers more than she picks on the
Because we
sisters.
respect our mamas at least. Like, I ain't gonna get out of here, little lady, whatever. But yeah, like the sister gonna ragdoll them if it comes to push the shove. No pun intended.
Yeah. I want to talk about guys that when I first started out, like the Marlon Shackelfords, they were just starting out. Marlon and Tommy Owens, they were just starting out. And so I was still living at the funeral home, and I gave them, I rented them an office for $1.
Literally?
Yeah. And they had a key, they could come in, I gave them an office, they could come in and go, but they always were there for me. And to watch to see how those brothers have come up and kept community alive. And that's what we need more of, keeping the community alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that I say all the time, I know a lot of males, but I know very few men.
Ooh, another bar. She just dropping bars out tonight.
And see, by me growing up with very strong men, my grandfather and my father, I really can't handle those piebacks. And if I feel like I'm stronger than you, I just can't deal with it. I don't want you running behind me.
Talking about a good run beats a bad stand. You don't want to hear that from your man.
Yeah.
So could there be any other path that you could have chosen that you would have been equally legendary in if you just totally focused on just that, other than being a public servant?
One more tissue.
Well, let me just say this. I've lasted in this field longer than I ever dreamed of. I mean, my goal in life was to be a child psychologist with no children. I have no children, and I'm not a child psychologist. but what that means is that you have to stay in a ready position, like playing tennis, because you never know where life is going to take you.
Right.
And you just need to be prepared.
Mm.
If you had told me I was going to go into politics, I would have said you a lie and the truth ain't in you. But I ended up in it. So, I mean, I've taught school. I taught at Belmont High School. I taught at McFarland. And I teach, generally I teach at Central State. But if you had told me this is where I was going, oh no. No. I mean, I was like, oh no, I don't want to deal with this. But I did realize that they needed people like me, people who didn't take themselves pompously serious, people that really cared about people. Because at the end of the day, it only hurts when you care.
Right. So, what is next for the great Rhine McClin'S?
Probably Woodland Cemetery.
Nonsense!
No.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna have to
But you know what? I did want to build with you on one thing though before we roll out. Now you said most people don't like to talk about death, but I am one person who I like to talk about.
He my death insider. I swear.
Well, I make a lot of memorial T-shirts for people that passed away and for their families and stuff, And I think that I always looked at that as an opportunity to help people cope with a loss of a loved one. It gives them a chance to kind of sign off and say goodbye, personalize their goodbye with their shirts and stuff. But one thing that I have, like just from talking to my customers about when they lose a loved one, a lot of the times they all see these signs that the body is just a shell, and when our loved ones move on, they can actually send us some type of signal that they're okay, whether it be in a dream or whatever type of signal that they give. Did you find, in your experience, your long experience dealing with people who passed, did you ever find any instances like that? Or
oh yeah. I mean, there are, I really do believe that they become our guardian angels.
Yeah.
And they come back in symbols, whether it's a penny, whether it's a red bird, whether it's a scent. Sometimes you can smell a scent. Sometimes you can feel them come past you. Or they can come in dreams. I firmly believe that. Because what we see is the body, once that person passes, we're just dealing with a shell.
Yeah.
And I believe that the spirit goes.
Right.
And that's what we're dealing with. But that's why we go through the rituals, is because we're relating death to life. And that's why the funerals, that's why the casket, that's why we pick the color. We gotta, remember the kind of flowers that they like. We gotta get the hair done. We gotta put the underwear on. We gotta put the shoes. I mean, because we're comparing our life to death. The memorial shirt is kind of like their guardian angel, that they can put that on and feel the connection of being close to their loved one.
I'm wearing my mom's today.
And so that has changed from when I was in the business to today. But that's more. I mean, one of the things, two things that is really sad is that most children are more familiar with funeral homes than they are with churches.
Yes.
And the second thing that they're more familiar with are street memorials than cemeteries. And so, because folks are not being taught, because the community has been lost, folks are struggling out here to get some understanding, some footing for life. And when someone dies, we aren't prepared most of the time when our loved one dies, because we don't believe in insurance. You know, if we got a job, let me just put this, you got a job, you get insurance on your job. You need to have separate insurance. You may not be on that job. Then you're going to be older. And some illness might have hit. It's going to be harder to get insurance. You know, if you got children, you know, you could do a $250,000 insurance policy on a kid now, that a baby, or a year or two, for hardly nothing, that when it becomes, when the policy turns out, you got money in there that you could use for them to go to college. I mean, we have to become more fiscally smart. We don't understand money. We really don't. We don't have wheels. You know, and we say, oh, I don't have none. Well, yeah, you do. You got something.
Yeah.
And especially if you got children, you need to have a wheel. At least to know somebody's going to take care of the child. Something happened. You don't want it all in probate. You know, so we have a lot of education to do within our community. We're too consumer orientated.
Right.
You know, I'll buy a $500 purse and they ain't got $10 in it.
Right.
Well, why don't you have a $10 purse and maybe you have $409?
There you go.
Right.
That's a
You know,
bar.
those kind of things that we have to become more cognizant. That's a good word. I'll take it. That we have to become more cognizant of what it means for us to live, because we're living like we're not gonna live.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are.
We are serious. We'd rather pay $1,300 to live in an apartment than to try to get a house.
I heard a lecture one time, and it was a doctor, and she talked about post-traumatic slave disorder.
Oh, it is so real.
And the fear of sudden death is what keeps us from pursuing a goal. So we don't know if we'll be around long enough to go to college for 4 years and then find a way to stack this money. So we got to get it right now.
We have allowed ourselves to be enslaved mentally to our possibilities of a future.
Yeah.
We've done that.
Right.
We have allowed ourselves to be enslaved, to not having expectations or possibilities or even dreaming.
Yeah. It's true.
You got to dream. You know, I mean, look at Jasmine. Look how far Jasmine has come. You know, I have like a Deja Demings.
Yeah.
You know, Deja. You know, she does. You know what I admire about Deja is that she does her. You know, I mean, no ifs, ands, or buts, and you know where she stands.
Right.
And yet, she merits respect.
Yes.
And that's what we're looking, you know, not being dissed, but we want to be respected. I don't care whether you like me or not. I want you to respect me.
Right.
That's what my father always said. It doesn't matter whether I like it or not. Because if I like it, I'm probably going to do you in. But, you know, but the point is, respect me.
So I want to ask one thing also, which we chuckled at the thought of it and Jasmine's interview. Y'all went skydiving together?
Oh, that is so exciting. That is so exciting. Let me tell you something. If you can wrap your mind around jumping out of a plane into the air, because if you scuba dive, which I've done, scuba dive, you're going in the water, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But when you riding in this plane, and you gonna wrap your mind out to jump out into the sky, it's the closest thing to being a bird. But you can literally say, the sky is the limit.
Another bar.
You are meant for this. Listen, here on the Let It Be podcast, we have this thing called the butterfly effect. Either something you said in the course of the interview or something I found in the course of my research that I found truly profound and amazing. Just me going back to me being little Peanut at Graham's house, where literally I go from watching on my grandma's TV, because you know my grandma's TV, I had to be the person to turn
Well, you were the remote.
Yeah, I was the remote. I had to go up there and move the wires around, and we're sitting there watching you speak. And I literally go from the jaw dropping moment of watching you on TV to walking through my grandmother's door. I thought anything in this world was possible. Literally grew up feeling that way.
Yeah.
To see all the magnificent things my grandmother achieved, the Eugenia Network, her winning the Appalachian Woman of the Year, her putting together all these different community constructs that today still reap benefits. I mean, Marlon Shackelford cried as hard as I did when my grandmother passed. It is nice, like just the way you carry yourself, the way your mannerism, the way you're funny, the way you just, it's a piece of my grandmother still here, and I'm glad I see it in you. Mm-hmm. And I'm proud of everything that like you've done. Like I said, I was just a young kid watching it happen, but for you to continue to have that legacy, to have this perspective, to come on our platform where we have people from Rhine Rats to see the fly of like the younger generation is watching this, and then you get to tell them, be beautiful, be all these things, and that's because what your father instilled in you and the grandfather instilled in you. So when you asked me earlier in the show and I didn't have an answer, you asked me what would I want to do for my grandma's legacy. I want my daughter to feel the same way about me, the way you feel about your father, and that would be honoring my grandmother.
That'd be beautiful.
That would be beautiful. Yeah, that's nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I guess you all.
Well,
thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been, and I might want to say this, it's been out of my comfort zone. I've never done this. And I said, when Jasmine said, they said, would you come? I was like, well, I'll try it. If I hang out with Jasmine, I can do this. So I figured.
You're not playing with it. You might as well try it.
And we're already looking forward to doing it again. And
man, we gotta go.
I want to go.
Hey, listen, let me tell you
something.
We're
going to film it.
They'll do it for you. They'll do it for you.
We gonna
let me
film
tell you,
it.
When I've been skydiving for over 20
they do.
years. And the one time that I went skydiving, I had them do the song when they did recorded the video of me jumping down, Lucy in the Sky. But the things I've done skydiving, air balloon riding, kayaking. I really like kayaking. Zip lining, whitewater rafting. Now that's a challenge. That's a challenge down there in West Virginia. That's a challenge.
Yeah.
So anyway, but it's not where the doodle dandrels were.
Where are you going in there?
I mean, so you have to have an adventurous spirit, and so when you have that, it breaks down the walls to the possibilities that you will do. And that's what I told Jasmine. I said, now, honey, you don't jump out the plane, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Anything?
The sky is the limit.
That's the name of this one.
Yeah.
Good observation.
Yep. Well,
Thank you.
what I see is just a whole lot of wisdom. I mean, I'm thankful that you came on and just was able just to share who you are, because any other way, like for example, if I'm thinking of somebody who is the mayor, okay, I'll think of somebody who is void of personality.
Yeah.
Somebody that is stiff, somebody who
can you manipulate it easily?
Well, not manipulated easily, but I just think that like I wouldn't expect so much color.
Yes.
So much.
But let me just say this. That was their problem. They couldn't understand me.
Right. but that in itself is the reason why you would be elected, because you are outstanding.
Yes.
I mean, I look up to you.
Yes.
And it's just so cool that you came here. Like for real, I'm starstruck. Like, for real,
We all
you know
are.
what I'm saying? I'm just like, and like, but the thing about it is, you make us loosen up. We normally bring people on here, and it's their first time being interviewed and stuff. So we just want to make sure that we treat you with all the respect that you deserve. So we might be walking on eggshells a little bit and delicate when we talk, but you have came in and told us, listen, you can throw them hands, you can fight, you can, you know what I'm saying? So
Points for Barry.
you took several points from Peanut. So I mean, to me, I always say that you are the forever mayor,
Absolutely.
Yes.
and even higher than that. I mean, you are really like royalty.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
I think that we all feel that.
Yes.
Like your whole presence and vibe is just like
Yes.
it's a queen in our presence. You know what I'm saying? And we, with a lot of reverence. So that's just that's just my observation, and it's real, 100%. So I just thank you for coming.
Well, I appreciate it, and I hope that when
No
my
doubt.
time comes, you'll come on out to Woodland and see me.
Yeah. I'll be there.
So what would you say to the younger generation? That's you know, the black community in Dayton. Like, what's your last words? Like, yo,
Don't quit. Don't quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shakes for breakfast, Agnes on Natural Grill for lunch. If you ever enter, call attorney Michael Wright. The shoparea.com is like the baby Amazon. Delivery is always free. And when you want to get lit a little bit, get you some good old Kiara wine, contact Antoine Cunningham on Facebook. We are at T-Shirt Kings, tshirtkings247.com. Gold for your mouth in the metaverse. And Camera Kings, man. So you guys come through, take you some family pictures, get you some shirts made. And yeah, and every Sunday. Hashtag Dayton for sure. Every Sunday, my brother Peanut Johnson teaches you how to get a big old bag of money from investing your money the right way in stocks. So sell stocks, not dope. Every Sunday on the Dash Resource channel on YouTube, man. You guys make sure that y'all tap in. Hashtag Dayton and Black Crypto News. We as a matter of fact, we'll do Black Crypto News tomorrow. Kerry Ivy is off this week again, and then I think he'll be back next week. So we're gonna slide
Black
in
Crypto
there.
News tomorrow.
Black Crypto News.
Yes.
Black Crypto News tomorrow. Man, Bitcoin is down, you guys. So we hoping
time to buy.
it's a good time to buy right now. Maybe. It might go down a little more. It's not FOMO, but I'm just saying, like, things can go down even more, you know. And so let's just take a look at what it's doing, and then we'll make a decision.
So
Everybody
just buy
make the
half a
best
bag
decision
and
for
then wait.
yourself. But it is a good time to buy it. I mean, it's on discount right now from what it was before. So. All right, the discount may increase though. We don't know. All right, you guys, we love everybody. Forever Mayor, can you just take us out?
Forever Mayor.
Can you take us out?
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it. All right, less is more, man. Love everybody. See y'all tomorrow.